If you've ever tried to force push your own brother from across the room, if you've ever had to explain the difference between a clone trooper and a stormtrooper to an absolute noob, then you are definitely in the right place, because we're going to be talking about Star Wars The Black Series line. Now, I know for the most part I tend to be somewhat critical on this channel. Most of the videos that I make are about bashing some manufacturer for some unimportant reason. However, today I'm actually going to kind of hail Hasbro, which I don't usually do on the channel. To be brutally honest, while I say that, I feel like I need to go and wash my mouth out with a bar of soap because it feels dirty. I feel like I need a shower after that. But as I always say, credit where credit is due. Hasbro has been doing a pretty good job recently with the Black Series line. They've been giving us some new, really interesting characters. Unlike with the Marvel Legends line, which I just made a video not too long ago, where I basically bashed them for reusing a lot of the old body molds and not giving us any of the new tech. And I really leaned heavily into that. However, in today's video, it's nothing but positive vibes. Granted, the other lines have been falling extremely short, but the Black Series line, in my personal opinion, has recently been probably the strongest. And this particular wave that I'm going to talk about, I think, is probably a prime example of that. I'm not going to talk about every single figure in this particular wave, but just the three that to me reminded me why I became a fan of the Star Wars Black Series. First one that I wanted to talk about was the Clone Wars Ahsoka, which has been a figure that I personally feel like we've needed for quite some time. We definitely needed an update from the previous one, and for those of us that weren't collecting at the time, we really missed out on it. But it's also worth mentioning that this is a new sculpt, at least as far as the Hasbro panel was concerned. They said this is supposed to be a brand new sculpt. It looks like they're going to be using the pinless technology, at least in some of the photos that I've seen, and I'm sure they're digital renders, but I believe in the live action shots that they had of Ahsoka in the actual Hasbro live stream, she did look like she had that pinless articulation. I don't know if she's going to come with the double jointed articulation, but it does look like a really nice figure. And as I mentioned, a lot of us missed out on the previous version of the Clone Wars Ahsoka, so it's nice for us to get that. And I believe they made a big reference, which I didn't even realize, but they made a huge reference in the panel by saying that Ahsoka probably has the most screen time of any Star Wars character ever, and it definitely makes sense. I mean, she was a part of the Rebels, she was a part of the Clone Wars, and then obviously she's in some of the live action stuff nowadays. She was featured in The Mandalorian. She has her own live action show, so you don't really stop to think about that when you're pre-ordering the figure, but it's definitely something worth mentioning. She is one of the characters that I feel has still a lot of potential for the future, and it's about time that we get just another iteration of this particular character in the Star Wars universe. The other one that I really wanted to talk about was the Phase 2 Clone Trooper, which is a figure that if you really wanted, you actually had to go through a third-party marketplace like AliExpress or maybe eBay, somebody that had a custom version of this figure, or the other option was you could buy a custom helmet and then actually port it onto your Phase 1 Clone Trooper. But again, there's a lot of customization involved. Most of these like resin-made helmets or 3D printed helmets, you actually have to make the hole where the neck goes, so it's a very complex custom, and you definitely have to have at least a certain amount of experience. So it was definitely a big giant hassle. On top of that, you actually had to paint the helmet, and I'm really blown away and very surprised by what Hasbro decided to do here. They're actually going to allow you to unmask the Clone Trooper, meaning that there is an actual head sculpt underneath the helmet. It's not glued on, so that way it gives you an opportunity to customize each and every clone if you want, like a commander or something along those lines. It shouldn't be that difficult. You can probably just buy the extra piece or just color in or use a little bit of paint applications to distinguish one clone trooper from the other. But it's nice, especially if you already have Phase 1 clone troopers. And by the way, and again, they made a point of emphasizing that this is the tweaked version, so they do have like those updated shoulder pads. So again, just like with the Ahsoka action figure, this is an updated version. It's not just a re-release or a repainted figure. This does have some of the newer technology or some of the newer upgrades that Hasbro has been adding to their figures. So not only is this a must pickup, but this seems to be headed into army building territory. This is definitely a figure that you're going to want to pick up multiples of if you're a huge fan of that Clone Wars era. The last figure that I really wanted to talk about on today's video has to be the Magna Guard. For those of you guys that watched the entire Clone Wars series and the Star Star Wars Episode number 3, you should be very familiar with these particular droids. And by the way, in case you're wondering, this is 100% new sculpting. It does have a soft goods cape, and it also comes with 2 staffs. One of them has a sort of electricity effect on either end. Now, they didn't go into too much detail regarding the specific articulation points of the figure, but we did see it in a couple of really good poses just to get an idea of how well this figure articulates. And I have to say, some of the poses that they got it into were really dynamic. Some of those poses are definitely going to make your nipples hard. I mean, they're going all out with this particular figure, and the best thing about it is it actually is an army builder, unlike some of the figures that we've seen from the Black Series line, where they could have easily just given it like generic qualities to open it up to army building, and instead they give it a specific name or a specific accessory attached to the figure that makes it one particular character. But when it comes down to the clone trooper and the Magna Guard, they're both completely army builders. They open up the opportunities for you. For example, the Magna Guard, you can display him with either staff. You can display him with, you know, the little cape draped over his back or without it. Same thing with the clone troopers. You can display him with a helmet, without a helmet, with either blaster, or then again, if you want to add a little bit of paint here and there and make them battle damaged, or if you want to make them a commander or something along those lines, it shouldn't take too much. But it's opening up the possibilities for you to buy multiples, and that's very, very smart on Hasbro's side of things. But again, I just wanted to give you guys my personal opinion on these 3 figures. In my humble opinion, I think these are 3 of the best figures that we've seen so far. Obviously, I don't have these in hand just yet, but just to see them, the promotional images, some of the posing that they did in the live stream, I think it really gives us hope that they're going to continue to give us not only new action figures or new characters, but they're also going to start giving us new body molds, the newer technology. It's really nice that they're doing that. But again, just my personal opinion. Let me know yours down in the comments section. And as always, if you guys enjoy the video, keep up to date with us. We're always consistently updating and giving you guys some random news on action figures or just our personal opinions on what's going on in the collector universe. So hit that like button, subscribe, all that good stuff. Thank you guys for tuning in. I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you.